Hi, Nick.
Oh, we're recording?
Oh, we're recording.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I can already hear Dan telling me or sending me a chat
Back
on
away
Zoom
from the
saying
mic.
back away from the microphone. So I'm going to back away from the microphone.
It's all right.
Hi, Justin.
Hi. Using the new software that we have, we can virtually move you away from the microphone. It's great.
Exactly.
How are you? Any updates? Life? Anything?
Not personally.
Okay.
I mean, Ozzy Osbourne died. Trump's on the Epstein list.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, we're gonna touch on that very, very briefly. I am excited for our conversation after this new segment. We're gonna do a new segment. We're just gonna do rapid fire through some current events. I feel like this past week has been very interesting with what has been in the news. We can talk about what you alluded to just briefly. Do you think Trump's in the Epstein files? I think we just literally before coming on, it said he was. There was a New York Times article that says he was.
Yeah. And the sky is blue.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, or just not surprised?
No, I'm not surprised in the slightest.
All right.
I saw something that said if the entire world was calling me a pedophile, I would want that list released immediately unless I was on it.
To prove.
And that's the argument. And if, he said the list existed until, he was able to make it public, and then all of a sudden it doesn't exist. It's not surprising to me at all.
I have to applaud the administration about one thing, and it's the number of distractions that have come out in the last couple of weeks. Trump attacking the Washington Commanders football team, saying they have to go back to their previous name, suing Rupert Murdoch for, it's related to the Epstein files, but that
I thought you were going to say suing RuPaul.
No, not RuPaul.
I hadn't heard that one yet.
No, not yet.
Anyways.
Is that supposed to be RuPaul?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is there a what did you say on episode 11? Is there an impression you can do?
Oh.
Rip. We're already
You're still working on that.
I'm working on it.
In other news that I was curious about your thoughts, Stephen Colbert and The Late Show were canceled. Do you have any thoughts on that? I have so many thoughts on that, but I'm just going to keep it at, I feel like it was not purely a financial decision. I think people have different opinions. It sucks that Stephen's out of a job in 10 months, but I also think that I'm really excited to see what he does post Late Show, because I think he's not going anywhere.
I honestly think he's going to start a podcast.
I think so too. Yeah. And that's what because everyone, Conan O'Brien, Amy Poehler, and you have the Smartless people, those are all technically comedy podcasts, and I think he could do that. I hope he tours and does some stand-up or just does some sort of live show. I think that could be fun.
I feel like he's too big for that. I could see him doing a Netflix special, maybe. But to answer your question, I'm very quick to be a skeptic sometimes. I was yeah, it seems a little fishy, but it was probably just a financial decision that was poorly timed. But, I don't think that anymore.
I think I can see both ways. I think that late night television is kind of a dying art. I think,
Which
back in the day.
Too bad.
Why do you say that?
I love it.
You like the talk show type of desk thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it worked well when that's all people had in the evenings. And I think now they have all of television that ever existed in front of available to them.
Right. And for those that don't have faces for TV, they host podcasts.
Here we are. This is why we didn't have a YouTube channel or a talk show. Yeah. We do have a talk show. It's just audio only. And our short-lived shorts on TikTok, are those going to come back?
I'm not liking any of these hot topics, really. They're all disappointing.
Well, I have one that, final thoughts on that is I do think there was probably some business weird shady deals that happened with Paramount, which is CBS's parent company, trying to solidify a merger between is it Skydance? I think Skydance is the company that's trying to buy out Paramount. Yeah, not a fan.
Sounds like a strip club.
Yeah, it is Skydance. It does. Sounds like a stripper. I feel like it could be both.
Please welcome to the stage, Sky Dan.
Yeah, exactly. And she does or he does his or her sky dance. Yeah, I don't know. It feels shady. I think I felt very strongly about it and like felt for Steven, but I think he's going to do some really cool stuff. And I think these next 10 months are going to be unhinged. And I'm really excited about what is going to come from that.
Yeah, for sure.
My last thing on this list is kind of a personal thing, but last week, you know that I was at a concert that unfortunately I was there the day before, but the night after I went,
let's talk about
went viral. And I think this kind of relates in a funny way to our topic that we're eventually going to get to.
It really, really does. I was just thinking the same thing.
But what do you think about this Coldplay couple that got their affair just got completely went viral and they were completely exposed? What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, so this has already been said by other people, but I'm echoing what I saw. First thought, I wouldn't cheat. But if I were in their position and, quick thinking, literally getting caught with your pants down, thinking quickly, you don't act guilty. You just continue to do what you're doing or celebrate it because, maybe somebody will see you that and then that's going to affect your marriage, but it doesn't go viral.
Right.
Or you take the chance that, nobody sees it because they're not paying attention or they're waiting for themselves to be on the Jumbotron. But at the same time, I think cheating is one of the worst things you can do. So,
I think regardless, they were going to be, I don't think it would have gone as viral if they didn't react the way that they did. I think being in an executive fancy, box suite for a concert out in the public during, people calling it generically a kiss cam, like Coldplay does something in their concerts called the Jumbotron song, where literally the camera pans around to people who are doing something interesting or have an interesting costume, and then Chris Martin just improvises a song about them. And they clearly were not the first person on during Jumbotron song, and they were just out in front of their box canoodling, whatever the frick you want to call it.
Not canoodling.
And their fingers were interlocked. I feel like that qualifies. I don't know what the definition of canoodling is. Doesn't matter. But
isn't that the third F?
with
Perhaps
a
second?
hard C sound?
Fingers?
Oh.
Look what they're doing with the fingers.
You're right.
It begs the question, and here's a little, segue for us, what we call in the industry a segue. Does it take cheating to find your soulmate?
I guess we'll see if we come to an answer by the end of this episode, but I guess we'll see.
We're going to break it down.
I just think that was hilarious how viral that went. The internet, I think, won. In terms
really
of all the memes it came up with.
Should that be the poster for this episode?
It's just us. I think we should. I think we should.
I tagged Claire on my story. I don't know if you saw this. My friend Claire, who has been on the podcast episode 31, the restaurant episode. And we had a picture, like a sticker on Snapchat that fit over those two canoodlers, if you will, perfectly. So I edited that and then I posted on my story. With the caption, "I'm having a really nice time with you tonight."
Yeah.
And then I tagged her.
I think that should be part of the poster somehow. I think that would be great.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I think unfortunate for them in their personal lives, and I think fantastic for Astronomer, the company he was a CEO for, because I think nobody knew who they were, and now everyone knows who they were. So I think they might be doing well, even if they had to have their CEO resign. But anyway, stick around. When we come back after this break, we're going to be talking about the invisible string theory,
as well as the butterfly effect.
All right, Nick. So this episode, we wanted to talk about the invisible string theory. And so for those who don't know, and also the butterfly effect, is that right? You're going to it's related to that. I'm unfamiliar with the butterfly effect. You're going to explain that in a second, but it's related.
It's not even related. It's
a similar concept.
A similar concept, in my opinion.
Okay.
The butterfly effect, yes.
Okay. So let me explain what the invisible string theory is for those who don't know. I didn't do my research very, very deeply on this, but
Rip.
People say that it's a Chinese proverb that basically says the universe will keep two people apart until the time is right. When you meet, there will be so many coincidences in the timing. If one thing had fallen out of line, you would have never have crossed paths. But the universe aligns, and you will realize that everything that you went through before you met was just preparing you for the moment that you meet them. So basically, it's this idea that there's an invisible string tied to two people, and I don't know what you want to call it, the universe, destiny, a higher power, the string will
Yanks
bring
you toward each other.
Yeah, violently brings you together at the time that you were supposed to meet.
Float like a butterfly.
String
Float
like a bee.
a butterfly. Float like a butterfly. Why am I keep saying butterfly?
I don't know.
Float like a butterfly. String like a bee. Am I right?
Was it worth the joke? I don't know if it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it in there.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been very curious about this topic. I don't think this was the first time that I've been introduced to it, but back in May, my sister was talking about this when I was on a family vacation. I was kind of fascinated by it, and I feel like it would be a really interesting conversation for us to have. I'm curious what the butterfly, and maybe I'm just dumb, but like, what is the butterfly effect? I feel like that's similar, or you've told me it's similar. Do you mind explaining what that is?
Yeah, of course. So this is according to the Oxford Languages, whatever that is.
We're back to the Oxford Dictionary from last episode.
Sure. So the butterfly effect is the phenomenon whereby, I don't know why I'm stumbling so much. So the butterfly effect is the phenomenon whereby a minute localized change in a complex system can have a large effect or large effects elsewhere.
Okay, so it's the idea that if one thing didn't happen, then the rest, like that could have changed. You could have changed many
It's like a
different
domino
paths.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, definitely related, similar concepts. Yeah. Okay. I think a good example of kind of both that I wanted to bring up in pop culture is a little bit outdated, but How I Met Your Mother. I think that TV show is very much like illustrating what the invisible string theory is stating. I think it's relating to the butterfly effect also. You know, that entire show, the premise is the main character, Ted, is telling his kids how he met their mother. If my dad sat me down for 9 years to tell me that story, first off, their story, sorry, is not 9 years long, but just because the show lasted 9 years, that people joke. But it's the whole story of all these different events that occurred that allowed him to meet their mother at the right time. So I think that's a really good example of the invisible string theory. My first question, do you believe in the invisible string theory, Nick?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because
Why?
where the is my person?
It's not
I'm
the right
joking.
time.
Of course.
It's not the right
Okay,
time.
but the right time is now. I'm only getting older, people.
We're getting older and rounder.
Yeah, you're telling me. Although the goal is a 6-pack by December.
Oh,
Man, I'm about to be the full package.
since when? That's exciting. Since this very moment?
Since I started eating healthier and
Oh.
doing 100 sit-ups a day and 2 1-minute planks, it's been nice.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm either seeing results or straining really hard.
Let's just say you're getting stronger no matter what.
Thanks.
Yeah.
No, but to answer your question, I don't know if I believe in it because and there's so many questions that come to mind. Poor relationships being one of them, but also who's to say that your first relationship is the person that you're linked to in this theory? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think it's not specific, right? So I think there could be multiple strings that are happening. I think, like, you know, it doesn't say it has to be exclusive, and we can get into this later, exclusive to romantic partners. Like, I think it's basically saying that you're the people who come into your life, you're meant to meet them at the time you do meet them.
So can it be more than one person that you're tied to?
How I understand it, I think so. Because I
what
think
a sexy web, am I right?
I think personally, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but I think that it can apply to more than just romantic partners. Because I think I've met people in my life when I was supposed to that I'm not like romantically linked to, if that makes sense. Like
Thanks, King.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I can already tell that this conversation is just going to go completely off the rails because it's going to quite literally
There's no
snowball
direction
and
it's supposed to go
spider web.
to. There's no
and
direction.
That's okay.
It doesn't need to go a certain way.
Do you think every two people that are linked, yes, the, reason that they're linked might be an overall positive, to teach someone a lesson, but do you think that the relationship is supposed to be a peaceful one? Does that make sense? Or do you think, for example, like if a couple breaks up, do you think they were still meant to be together to learn something?
I think it depends. I think like I've had people in my life for a lot of different reasons. I think I've met people, they stayed in my life and they're still in my life. I've met people and we've had a close relationship. Now we're maybe not as close. And they don't play as much of a big role in my life anymore. So I think there's reasons for both. I also, in kind of thinking about these questions and this theory, also thought about like, what is the reasoning, right? Like, is the reasoning to kind of, what is the purpose of the string, I guess? What is it pulling you towards, right? Is it pulling you towards happiness? Is it pulling you towards meaning? As you said, is it there to like teach us a lesson? And I think that, I don't know. I think it's pulling us there. It's hard to explain, and it's also hard for me to approach this conversation just being someone who is religious. And so I also wanted to preface this too, that I think you could probably insert like substitute invisible string with like God, higher power, universe, however you want to do it. For this conversation, also, I think we're just talking more like in a spiritual way. Right. But what were you going to say?
And also, the further you get down this path, I feel like you run into the, not necessarily conclusion, but idea that everything happens for a reason, which I also don't think I believe.
I don't believe
because
that.
There's, right. But do you see how walking down that path becomes, well, if I were meant to meet you, but we have a huge falling out and we never talk again and it caused me trauma, but I learned something.
Right.
That's kind of saying that happened for a reason. So I don't know. There's probably a fallacy in there somewhere that I just brought up.
And I think what got me thinking about this topic and wanting to talk about it on the podcast is that I was reading something about, this was about romantic partners. And it was about how partners talk about each other's past relationships and histories. And if so, in how much detail. And they were specifically talking about like sexual experiences, whatever. And someone was saying that, honestly, someone was arguing. It was Reddit, so it's a forum. Everyone was commenting. Everyone had a voice. It kind of got chaotic. But someone was saying that
talking about relationship trauma on the first date.
Exactly. But someone made a good point that was like, personally, blah, 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 I feel like I would be too jealous, but to like talk about that, and it upsets me. But the way I like to think about it is that every experience, romantically or just in general, in that person's life has made them into the person that they are presently. Talking about the butterfly effect similarly, right? And so if you didn't have that relationship that got into an argument that caused you some relationship trauma, would that, for better or for worse, mean that you're a different person than you are presently? And that really was interesting to me.
I think that is absolutely true. Every experience of ours shapes us.
I agree.
Well, I guess not every experience, because you could really, really get minute and be like, well, I stepped on an ant, but I didn't realize it. Like, we probably stepped on an ant today and have no clue that we did it, you know, and it didn't affect us in any way because we didn't
Sure.
know about it. So maybe amend that to like everything we're conscious of that happens to us.
Yeah, or
that
like
we experience.
the importance of
including
like,
that door just slamming.
I didn't even hear it.
Perfect.
Kind of like the idea of perception. Like everything that you're able to perceive. I mean, yes and no, because most things that you're able to perceive, for example, if you were to take the ant thing, you might not have perceived you stepped on an ant, so therefore it didn't even affect your life. I also think that you can not necessarily be fully conscious of something happening, but also subconsciously absorb stuff that is happening. I don't know. An example that I think of, which maybe isn't a good one, I'm just thinking about it on the spot, is like a child grows up in an environment where both of their parents are fighting all of the time. They don't know why the parents are fighting, but they know that the parents are fighting. And so like they're just, you know, while they're in their little nursery or whatever, are just picking up on that. And I think that can maybe normalize yelling or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too clinical, but like, I think that's not necessarily something that they perceive. It could be, but they're just passively absorbing. And so I feel like some of those experiences can make us into who we are, but
I feel like passive observation is still conscious, you know?
Yeah. You're just
You're
not
still
necessarily in control.
Aware of it
Right.
to an extent.
It's still perception. Yeah. That's fair.
Plato and Socrates over here, am I right?
So much less eloquent. But back to my original question. Do you think that you believe in the invisible string theory?
I know you asked me that 25 minutes ago, and I don't know, because I still have more questions. Like, for example, do we have free will with this? That's another, that was like the number one question that came to mind. So like, are we kind of like attached, you know, figuratively speaking, to another person? Let's just say one person to simplify it. Do you automatically just end up with that person? Or can you, you know, maybe meet that person and not end up with them? Like, do we make the wrong choice? Does everybody find their soulmate? Do you even cross paths?
Right. So hypothetically, you're saying the string draws you together, but you might not even...
It might not be pulling. It might just be there.
It's just there. Like there's some sort of like attractive force that's bringing you together, but it's just, you know, it could just be like someone you waved hi to on the
Right.
street, for example.
Mine's my fat ass. I don't think I do believe in it because I just don't think it's predetermined. I could go out right now and meet my life partner, or I could go out right now and end this podcast. See you later. And meet my life partner, or I could continue speaking with you and stay home and never meet him. So that really gets into the butterfly effect. I think there's so many different... I think the butterfly effect for me contradicts the invisible string theory.
See, I think so. I'll say my answer. I do believe in it. I think that
Okay.
I think not necessarily fully in its form, but I think I believe in a version of it. And I think what you're talking about for me, what puts those two things together is that the invisible string theory is all about timing. It's not saying you're going to meet no matter what. It's saying you're going to meet, and this is how you're, like, not how you're going to meet, but the timing happens whenever it happens. It's not saying that the timing has to be when it is. It's just that the timing when it happens is going to be right for whatever reason. And so
Okay.
I think to your free will thing, yeah, it begs the question I think we should talk about is like, how much free will do you have if the string theory is saying, invisible string theory is saying like, okay, it's going to happen at some point in your life. But I think you still have, I think, the free will and the butterfly effect to like make certain decisions. I think that it's almost this higher piece that no matter what, that you're going to meet at the right time, no matter when what that is.
I could buy, based on that answer, I could buy into the idea that there's one person for you. Not necessarily like, oh, I guess that is made for you. And I don't mean it like physically created for
soulmates?
you. Yeah, because Just
I don't
because
know if I
I've
believe in
only ever been
soulmates.
in love with one person
Okay.
once in my life.
Okay.
And that was kind of where I was going with, well, do you end up together? Or maybe that was the person and I fumbled it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I've only ever felt that about one person, and I don't know if I'll ever feel that way again just because it's only, I mean, even if there was more than one person, I'd never know. But I can buy
Sure.
into like there's one person that can make you feel that way just because I have a, you know, a long history afterward of not feeling that way about people. Of course, I've had crushes on people. But I can buy into that. I don't know if I can buy into there's two people that are made for each other. Although that could have been mine. I don't know. I really
Sure.
don't have an answer. I don't think I will have an answer. I definitely buy into the butterfly effect 100%.
Okay. I let me give you an example that's not romantic, because I feel like we're thinking about this as like specific romantic. 'Cause I don't think that it's strict to I don't think that it's strict to the like to romantic partners. I actually think it can be to people. I think it potentially, maybe, I don't know if I believe in this fully, but I think it could be to like situations, to jobs, to people. My example of the invisible string theory is how you got your job.
So for me,
That's butterfly
okay,
effect.
that's a crossroads and a half because that's a butterfly effect situation to me.
Okay.
But yes, if you want to say I was meant to meet that
Because
person,
it just
but I
was
guess the
so
butterfly effect,
coincidental.
right? But I would say the butterfly effect contradicts that idea. So explain it first through the invisible string theory.
Okay.
Or
So
you know what? Do you want me to talk about it through the?
well, can
No,
you just explain how you got your job? Just
Yes, I'm going to give the simplified version, and
Yeah.
we'll go into it a little bit more with when we talk about the butterfly effect. But basically, I was waiting tables, and like someone called the restaurant and was like, "Hey, is there a male server?" He was kind of young, who is in marketing, and I think at the time I was the only male server in the restaurant. So the host was like, "It must have been Nick," because there was. I think there might have been two of us, but it might have just been me at that time. And so she handed me the phone. Like she literally brought the phone over to me. I was like, hi. Like I didn't know what this was because my thought was like, did I accidentally like put their tip in wrong? Did they forget something at the restaurant? I didn't know what she was going to ask. And basically she was like, hey, we were in, I thought she said a couple weeks ago, but she has since told me it was a couple months before that. We were in and you were our server and you said you were you went to school for marketing and I work at a bank and a marketing position just opened up. I was wondering if you wanted to apply. Now, I didn't remember that conversation with her at all. Like I didn't remember this person because it wasn't like a long conversation. I think it just came up. I don't typically go up to people and say, hi, my name is Nick. Welcome to the restaurant that I work at. I'm in marketing. It usually starts with, can I get you something to drink?
Yeah.
So
I'm excited to announce that I'm looking for employment opportunities.
right, exactly. I'm trying to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
No. So what I think happened was she said her husband was very, like he's a very chatty person and asked like, oh, where did you go to school? And I told him, Loyola. What did you study? Marketing. And yeah, so that's how I applied for the job and I had an interview and I got it. By the third episode of Point of View.
Yeah. So this is how I can see them working in tandem. Is I think the invisible string theory was the two of you were supposed to meet at the time that you did. And I think maybe and so that's the invisible string theory. I think I can maybe add more, but I think that where the butterfly effect comes in is you worked at this restaurant when you were in high school. You didn't work there. Maybe you worked there in summers or vacations when you were in college, but otherwise you didn't really work there full time. You were now graduated from college and you were doing some time there. Well, actually, that was your only job at that point because you were looking for employment opportunities. This family didn't have to come in there. This family didn't have to come in that day. That could have been sat outside of your section. This is where I feel like the butterfly effect comes in. You didn't have to talk
100%.
about the husband could have been quiet, not chatty.
Right.
There's no way that you could have. There's a very, very plausible reality that you didn't talk about your experience or desire to go into the marketing field. There was a possibility there was not an opening where she worked. There was a possibility she didn't remember you months later. That's where I feel like the butterfly effect happened. However, I feel like all the decisions that y'all chose to make, did lead to, I don't know, I feel like the string is kind of that like pull of like, this is why y'all made the decisions that you did, if that makes sense. So it's like kind of that through line of like, sure, you could have not decided to work that day. Sure, you could have not decided to go back to the restaurant. She could have decided not to go out to dinner that night. But I feel like the invisible string theory is saying that you're going to, it doesn't have to be every single decision, but at some point when the timing is right, both people are going to make decisions that lead you to meeting. It doesn't have to be romantic, like this example.
Okay, fair. And I can get behind that in the way that it kind of suggests somebody who would make these decisions, A, B, and C, for example, would meet with person B who would make these decisions. Our paths crossed because of those, and only our two paths would cross because,
sure,
I made decisions A, B, C, she made decisions D, E, and F.
Sure.
Together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And I think a part of it that it would be helpful to introduce here is that I personally only believe that the invisible string theory applies to big moments in our lives. I don't think that there's necessarily a string that's attaching me to someone who plays such a minor role in my life that, for instance, if I went and got coffee this morning at a Starbucks, I don't think that necessarily that barista had a invisible string that was attached to me. I don't think that that's not how I believe it. I think they're it's meant for people, places, jobs, whatever you want to call it. I'm thinking mostly people. In that case, maybe you could have talked about like the job that you have. It was always calling to you. I don't know, maybe not, but at least the opportunity was meeting that woman who provided you with the opportunity to interview and apply and all that stuff. But I don't think it's every person. I think it's the big moments. It could be romantic partners. It could be really good friends. It could be best friends. It could be teachers, mentors, podcast hosts, and editors and producers. Creative partners. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it could be, I know that was meant to be a joke, but I turned it into sincere.
No, right.
I
was going to go further and say, we actually didn't know each other before this. Our agents set us up.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how I make sense of it too, is that it's not necessarily the minor things, it's the big things or bigger things that we think are bigger. I think the major points are the string moments.
Okay. Do you want to hear how I saw some of those events as the butterfly effect? And I know you kind of touched on them as well through the lens of the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
But I can expand it a little and even say this was an example I had come up with before even getting on this call, and we haven't discussed it yet. I would say in 2020, my OCD got so unmanageable that in 2024, I ended up on a haunted hayride. Two things that seem entirely unrelated to each other and are for, to the naked eye, and not even just the naked eye, they're unrelated. But there is a, connection to them. So let's just walk through it. I'm going to go backwards. So I went to a haunted house, a haunted corn maze rather, with my friend Michaela and her fiance Jill, who you've met through Big Brother Weekend 3. We did that in, I believe, October 2024. I never would have done that at that. I never would have been at that haunted corn maze if I wasn't friends with Michaela. I wouldn't have gone with her. I wouldn't have been friends with Michaela had I not worked at bank, right? Because we worked together. I wouldn't have worked at bank if the woman who I waited on had walked a little bit faster or a little bit slower in the parking lot, because she would have had a different server. Or, you also said her husband spoke up when he didn't have to. So if he didn't, then I might not have got it. I wouldn't have met her if I didn't work at the British Beer Company in 2021. And I wouldn't have worked at the British Beer Company in 2021 had I not moved home to Massachusetts. And the reason I moved home to Massachusetts was because I was living in Baltimore, and there were two reasons. One, I couldn't get a job, and that was due to, in part, a large part, a global pandemic. But also, I moved back because my OCD had become so unmanageable that I was on the phone with my family literally it's not an exaggeration to say, there were times when it was half-hour intervals. I'd hang up and then I'd call them back after the dust had settled. I'd call them back we hadn't just figured it out. I'd have a new crisis or the same crisis all over again. So had I not moved home because of that OCD, I wouldn't have, we can just go forwards very quickly. Had I not moved home, I wouldn't have worked at the BBC in 2021. I wouldn't have had that customer. I wouldn't have worked at the bank. I wouldn't have known Michaela, and I wouldn't have gone to the haunted house. And the haunted house, I extended it. My real example for this was to say I wouldn't have been friends with Michaela because I wouldn't have met her, and she's one of my best friends. I consider her one of my best friends now. So, but I extended it further to something seemingly stupid, that I went to a haunted corn maze.
Well, I think, I was going to say, let's just bring it to you meeting Michaela, right? Because if we're going to talk about the invisible string theory, I know I talked about it. It could be job situations, whatever. But for simplification, let's say people. I think, the way I see that with the invisible string theory is that you were meant to meet Michaela that way. And yes, all those things kind of led to that. But I think they can work in tandem. I don't think that they're opposites. I don't think that they're different things. And I think that touches on the piece we were talking about of free will, where with the invisible string theory, you do have free will to make different decisions, but you do make the decisions that you end up making, which to the butterfly effect, I guess, is saying that because we made those decisions, this led you to it. But also another view is it was meant to happen.
Do you believe in the butterfly effect? I don't think I've asked you that yet. And to reiterate before you answer that, to listeners, it's the idea that one different action can change the course of your life, basically. That's a layman's term, or layman's way of describing it.
Yeah. I think I've also heard it called the ripple effect too.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. I think I do believe in the butterfly effect as well. So I think I'm not necessarily arguing against you with it. I think what I'm trying to do is almost convince you that both can be true at the same time, or convince our listeners that both can be true at the same time. One other piece that I want to throw into it is that I'm noticing with both, you can really only see it clearly in retrospect, when you're looking back at things. And so
that is a great point, and I have a quote to illustrate that.
Okay.
But continue your thought. I
was just saying, to be play devil's advocate for a second. I feel are these just kind of theories and things that we've, philosophers and, sad excuses for philosophers like us, think about, as confirmation biases to make random sense of events that have occurred? Or are these things that are actually acting in our lives presently and going in the future? I don't know. I think that adds another layer to this conversation, but I want to hear your quote that kind of brings that in.
So it's one of my favorite quotes because it's very positive and inspirational. Not one of my favorite quotes. It is my favorite quote, and I don't know who it's by. I don't think anybody does. I think it's just anonymous. But it goes, when people talk about traveling to the past, they worry about radically changing the present by doing something small. But barely anyone in the present really thinks that they can radically change the future by doing something small. So when we look at it in retrospect, it's oh my God, if I had just done this little thing differently, my whole life could be different. But when you think of changing the world, it's well, I'm just one person. I can't really do much.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think I don't know if it was in our first episode of this year or in a previous episode, but I've always said, like, I don't know, maybe I haven't always said this. I don't really know what my answer was, but like if I'd rather travel to the past or the future, I think I said the past, but I'd be worried about changing something. But that's a really good point. Like we have very much the capability to change we have agency to change our lives and the trajectory of our lives every single day, essentially. Right? Confirmation bias. Is it confirmation bias? Sure. But I also think, like, I don't know. Like I said, we could get into like God, universe, higher power if we wanted to. I think as someone who does believe in that personally, I think there's a plan going on, but it's hard for me to justify at times because I don't understand. And I think a big part of my own beliefs and faith is that it is a mystery that I won't understand.
The mystery of faith.
Thank you, Father Nick.
Did you just say thank you,
Nick.
Father?
I said thank you, Father Nick.
Oh, you know.
I did say that.
I love that.
You heard me right. Yeah. I think that was the end of that thought.
To reiterate, you said it kind of like explains. Would you say you were trying to get across the idea that you use it in a way to explain like why things happen?
I don't think I use it as a way to explain how things happen. I think it's a fun way to look back and be like, whoa, like if this didn't happen and this didn't happen, there are just so many ways that we couldn't have met that it's wild that we did.
That we did, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe, and I know you said you don't believe in this either, the idea that everything happens for a reason, but I do think everything happens because of something.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's like this happened in order for this to happen. I don't think it's like this needs to happen because event B needs to happen. I don't think event B needs to happen, but event B does happen because of event A.
Because of event.
Does that make sense?
Well,
and they don't always have to be like, I think often when we're like, everything happens for a reason, we say it in the context of something bad happened, but it might open the door to something good, or it needed to happen. It didn't need to happen, but bad things, you never know what they're going to lead to. Like I have another example of the butterfly effect that we've talked about on this show in the Am I the Asshole episode. But I had a friend breakup, and what can a friend breakup lead to? You'd never know, but it was the craziest thing.
Last couple of questions that I am curious about is, I think we talked a little about what happens when a string leads to something painful or relationship. I don't know. An example that I can think of quickly is my first relationship I was ever in ended in a very painful way. However, I always attribute that particular time in my life as a time where I really came into who I am now. Resiliency being my strongest characteristic that I think about, just kind of like finding myself. And so when a string leads to something painful or a relationship ends, I don't think it necessarily disproves the theory. I think it is like, okay, there's one of those major moments. You needed to go through that. I don't know, but like I went through that and I learned this thing about myself. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to what happens if a string leads you to something painful or a relationship?
No,
ends?
I think it ties us back. You see what I did there? Back to what we were saying earlier about asking the question, do two links need to be a peaceful experience?
Yeah, and
if I were to believe in the invisible string theory, I would say no, they don't need to. Because I think you could, be supposed to meet someone. That was not the English. But I think there's the possibility that we are supposed to meet people to learn something.
Yeah, I agree. And I think those major moments, again, they aren't always positive. They're things that we learned about ourselves. And and you don't like to say like, oh, that happened for a reason. And I'm not
Right.
necessarily saying that, but I'm saying like, at least within this theory, how I think of it, you met this person at this time because of
Right.
whatever
But
reason.
you can say, I think, when something bad happens, like you never know what's going to happen
Yeah.
as a result of this.
When you meet someone. Right.
Right.
Last two questions.
Yep.
One, if, say, just for this thought question, say you believe in it, right?
Mhm.
You're meant to meet someone. Or the invisible string theory is pulling you towards someone. Can you resist it?
Again, it depends on if you have free will or not. And for those that are still with us who are like spiraling right now, we're sorry.
I think we're having a pretty coherent conversation.
No, I love it. I just mean like that are,
It's a high level conversation, but
right,
I feel
that's
like
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're like having a million thoughts and
And I'm curious to know what people think.
existential crises. Yeah. I'm sweating.
It's a lot of work.
I think you can resist it, yeah. Unless the string is so strong that you can't.
Because like it's all about time. If it's all about timing, right? Can you resist the timing of meeting that person? I don't know if you.
If it's about
I don't know.
meeting, maybe not.
Right. Like your paths are going to cross.
Right.
I don't know if you can resist it. But again, I think, yeah, you make a good point. Like free will, like, we've talked around the idea, but just naming what it is, like predestination. Like, is it just going to be, is destiny always going to be prescribed for you? And if that's the case, how much free will choice do we have about it? I don't think you can resist it, but that also leads to more philosophical questions of like, oh, what a horrible life that is if you don't have agency to be able to control that at all. But I don't know. That was something
no
I
one
want to talk
said
about.
life was supposed to be enjoyable either. That's the other thing. We talk, and we're not going to go down this road, but we talk about it as if it's meant to be lived. Like, no one's saying that we're here for a reason. There's a potential that we are not here for any reason.
And well, yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why the phrase, well, that's life, exists, because it's a very bad connotation to that.
That's what people say.
Live the good life. All I can say is, bottom line, nobody told us life was going to be this way.
Yeah. I was going to
say. Last question, which I think ends us on a really cool spot. If you believed in the invisible string theory, if the invisible string theory is real, if you could see the invisible strings connecting people, would you want to?
Ooh. I think yes.
Okay.
And the
not
reason,
just yours, but other people's. Or maybe just yours.
Still yes, because if
how are you viewing it? Just like other people's,
you are
or
meant
just
to
yours?
be with someone or meet someone, it's for the best, right? We can assume it's for the best. So even if I don't want to meet them, there's got to be a reason that I should. And, if it's, yeah, I'll just leave it there. Because there's also the idea that, if the string is strong, you want to meet them by definition of, the string being what's pulling you to that person.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would want to. Do you? Would you want to know?
It's so funny because I feel like this is one of those episodes. Maybe we haven't had this, or maybe we have. I know in life we certainly have, but this is one of those episodes where I feel like we're falling on opposite sides of every duality that we're covering. Like, do you believe it?
That's okay.
And I think, no, I know. I think it's a wonderful thing.
And I think this is your most genius episode since episode 11. I'm not even going to lie. Like, this is like, you had that stroke. I always said that was your like stroke of genius episode, and I forget what mine was, but I had one too. This is like up there. This is like your second like master episode.
Well, thank you.
Like
That's a high bar now. Hopefully it.
I know. It only comes once in 5 years, apparently.
I don't even
I've
remember
only
what
had
episode
one,
11
so-
was. The masks we wear?
The masks we wear.
Okay. But with that being said, I don't think I would want to see them. Because I think
Why?
it's more whimsy. I don't like. I think I am
If someone-
interested. What?
Keep going.
I think if I am meant to meet these people, I don't want to see that I'm going to meet this person, because then I think it takes, again, it's going back to like if you're going to go in the past, would you change something or whatever? I want it to happen naturally and authentically, and not because the string is telling me, okay, we're going to meet this person in 2030, or I'm going to meet this person in 2007, or I'm going to meet this person tomorrow, right? Like according to the string and how it looks. I want it to happen naturally. And because of, as you talked about, bringing the butterfly effect back in, because A happened, B happened, C happened, D happened, and then I met this person at point X. And I don't want it to be because I saw the string.
I like that answer, and it makes me reconsider mine too.
Okay.
There's two sides to the coin, but
what are you reconsidering? I'm just curious.
No, I was like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. That's really it.
Okay.
All I'm saying, if somebody has the other end of my string, start yanking.
Start yanking me. Start like a fishing line. Start reeling me in.
Because I've been trying for years. I even made it digital.
Well, thank you, Nick, for this conversation. I hope listeners, you thought it was interesting. We're very curious on your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Do you believe in the invisible string theory? Do you believe in the butterfly effect? What are your thoughts? Share them with us on our socials, which you'll hear in a moment. Any last thoughts?
And with that, my name is Nick Gervasi.
And I'm Justin Dew.
Dan Ashley is our producer, editor, and can be found in the virtual control room. And you can reach us at our email, pointofdewpodcast@gmail.com, and on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Point of Dew Podcast, and X, Twitter, at Point of Dew. I can't believe I just said X. If you enjoy our show, make sure to follow the podcast and give us a rating or review wherever you get your podcasts, or share us with a friend or family member. We'd really appreciate it and are truly grateful for your support. As always, we hope you have a great 2 weeks. Thank you for listening, and until next time,
H.